Hey, you're listening to episode 34 of the TA Pedals podcast. I'm Tristan.
And Stephon.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing.
Chilling?
Yeah. Just want to point out we've already had to restart a couple times. We messed up the intro. So this is the good one.
Yep, this is the good one. Well, because I usually kick it off and say you're listening to episode blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I said 33 twice because I'm losing track of how many episodes we've done. It's getting crazy and we're getting up there and I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were talking last night about how we're coming up on a year pretty quick. Less than 20 weeks. We're way over halfway there. So
Yeah. It's been pretty quick. It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
yeah. I think it's just because it's just something we do every week and it's not really something we think about too much. We just come in here and get it done.
I feel like the podcast isn't so much for our listeners, but more of like a kind of a thing to look back on, whenever we get down the line, we can be like, this is what we were doing at that time. And, just, it's kind of just like a record keeper.
Yeah, kind of. It's, I feel like, kind of like what Bo said, is it's like a good companion piece to all the things we're doing. So it's like, it's almost like a behind the scenes look at everything that we've got going on, but also kind of a sneak peek at what we got coming.
And also what goes on in our head.
Yeah, that's true. Man, I've only been awake for like 10 minutes. I honestly kind of feel like a zombie.
Hey, zombie. What's up?
I had a pretty vivid dream where I was watching. Do you know who Charlie Puth is?
No. I've heard the name, but I don't know who he is.
Do you know that song Light Switch that was on the radio? You turn me on like a light switch when you move your body.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a dream that I went with my dad to this junkyard and there were these stray cats. And I don't know why we went there, but something to do with those cats. And like we picked them up and then we took them inside the junkyard office and we were like, hey, there are all these cats out here and whatever. And then we heard music coming from behind this door and we were like, hey, what's going on? And they told us, there's live music down there and we bought tickets and we went behind the door and it was Charlie Puth and he was playing, it was metal though. But then he was like, hey, they finished a song and he was like, you never know what you're going to get with me. I can do jazz, I can do metal, I can do pop, I can do everything in between, but it's just all about having fun and stuff. And then he's like, we're gonna play another song and it was metal again. And then there was a point where something happened with the microphone. He as he was singing, I remember now, he as he was singing, he took it apart. And then because he was singing and playing drums at the same time, and he took his vocal microphone apart and then he threw it and it landed on the table. And before he started the next song, I had put it back together and plugged it back in and handed it to him. And I know none of this makes sense. I know none of it makes sense, but I've read that when you wake up suddenly from a dream, you're more likely to remember it. And so I have an alarm set for 5 o'clock in the morning when we do the podcast this early. And so the time between me waking up and opening the door and seeing you is literally like 20 seconds. And so I'm able to, a lot of the time, to like remember these dreams really well. And it was weird. Anyway, I don't know. Just thought that was an interesting one.
It is. Your dreams are always interesting, especially for to me because I don't really dream. Um, so it's always interesting to hear the weird stuff that the mind can come up with.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Because like that one's out of nowhere. Like I like Charlie Puth, but I haven't listened to him in a while.
But you would if he was metal.
Well, I do regardless, but like now that I've heard the potential in my dream, I think I need to hit him up and be like, "Hey, I might have just told the future." But yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty excited that I get to dream like that sometimes, and my favorite dreams that I have are extremely realistic dreams where I'm Spider-Man. Like, have you ever had a dream that feels real? Like it feels like more real than real life.
Yeah.
It's a very hard feeling to explain, but I have this dream and I've had it a few times where I'm Spider-Man and it feels so real, Stephon. And I'm like swinging through New York and like, you know, that like falling feeling you get when you're falling asleep. It's like I can feel that like as I am like swinging on the web. It's so crazy. But anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning because it was so vivid. And I don't know what happened to those cats. There was like an older one, like
They went to their own club and started an aristocrats party.
yeah, I guess so. But there was like a black one that came running from under this truck, and like I picked it up and it like got on my shoulder, and they were all crying, and yeah, there's actually another part of the dream, but I feel like it has some deeper meaning, and the dream didn't start off so good, and yeah, I don't know. I was just like telling my parents they don't know who I am at all, and that's why my dad like wanted to spend time with me, and we went to the junkyard. That's how it started off. It wasn't a very good start to a dream, but I ended up at a underground Charlie Puth metal show, so something went right.
Yeah.
Anyway, our topic for discussion today was going to be zombies. You still in for that?
Yes.
Let's go.
since you're a zombie this morning.
I feel like a zombie. After this, I'm going to go do some running, and I'm going to feel even more like a zombie.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So zombies.
zombies. What is a zombie?
Where to start? A zombie. It's a basically reanimated corpse in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
That is mindless and only seeks out the hunger within.
You must first seek the hunger within before
Like-
looking for the hunger without.
It's like a vampire without a thought process.
Yeah, a weird combination, I think, of that is like the things in I Am Legend. They were like zombie vampire things.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, they're like vampires, but they were pretty close to mindless.
Yeah, and they also were people who were infected with the virus and died and mutated. But then also they couldn't be in the sun and had to like eat people, and I think one of them flew. Zombies don't normally fly, but vampires do.
I don't know if it flew or just jumped really high.
I thought there was one part where it like flew, but very briefly. It was like it like flew into a window, but it could have jumped. It could have been a jump. I don't know, but anyway, that was I think a good combination, a good representation.
That's a pretty good way. I've never really thought about it that way. Like that's like probably a good depiction of a cross between a vampire and a zombie.
Yeah. So normally in uh, depictions of zombies in like American pop culture, um, like you said, it's like a reanimated corpse, and usually, especially in like series like Resident Evil, what happens is there's some sort of virus that mutates or crosses from another species and infects humans. A good example would be like mad cow disease if it were to cross over into people. And there are trans species viruses that are real, so it's kind of a cool concept. And in these shows and stuff, there will be like an outbreak from a lab or whatever, and someone will become infected, and then by biting someone else, that person will get infected, and therefore the virus spreads. And normally, in most of these things, they end up taking over the world that way until there's a small population of humans left that are not infected. And that's a pretty crazy thought process. I mean, that's a pretty crazy thought, an idea. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think my favorite depiction of that scenario is probably Resident Evil. I really like that because it infects like dogs and stuff too.
I like Resident Evil. It's a little too sci-fi.
Oh yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
let's get it straight. I love Resident Evil. I love playing the game. I love the movies. Like Resident Evil is definitely my top as far as like zombie depictions. But as far as like real life application, like I don't think that I think it's a little too sci-fi
Oh, it
to
absolutely is.
be something that could happen.
Yeah, it's very over the top.
I think the closest that we've got to what a zombie apocalypse would look like, or just zombies in general, is probably The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. I was a little hesitant because I have mixed emotions about that show because it started off so good.
Yeah.
And whenever it became more about the threat of other people than it did the zombies, I was like, okay, I think
But
I'm done.
I mean, in reality, like that is the most likely scenario.
Well, I just feel like they pulled away from the zombies too much. Like the zombies became like a background issue. And
Yeah.
I feel like it would be just as dangerous, you know, um, like years into the outbreak as it would be, where they really started to feel the threat at the beginning, and just because of sheer numbers or whatever. And I feel like in The Walking Dead, like they kind of like learned how to control them and control where they are and keep them out of their living environment. And like what I would imagine is like no matter what, at some point you're going to be overrun. And I guess they did do that in a certain way. Like, they would build fences and it'd keep them out for a little while, but then so many would come that they would have to like pick up and move. But I guess like the focus of the show shifted to a point where it was like other people are more threatening. I don't think that it's an inaccurate.
Colonies on colonies.
Yeah, I don't think it's an inaccurate portrayal of how it really would be. It's just that for a show, I was like, it's
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, like The Walking Dead was interesting up until like the first few seasons, and then after that, it kind of just started running together, and I'm just like, I'm not really interested in this anymore. But as far as like an example of like real world application, like I feel like that's probably the closest we're gonna get to how it would be.
yeah. Yeah, and don't get me wrong.
And you don't need to watch the full show to
Right.
understand that. You only need to watch the first couple seasons.
Yeah, I think I watched up until like season 8, and I liked up until season like 6 or 7. Like it's a really good show,
For me,
and
it was 3.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, they did a really good job with it, especially in the beginning. And yeah, just the way they portray the zombies and stuff is really great. I can't imagine living in a world like that where like like how in the beginning they kept seeing their loved ones like roaming the streets, and they would be looking at them through like the scope of a rifle.
Yeah.
Like, and some people had trouble putting their loved ones out of their misery, and so they just like let them be.
I mean, I can see that. Like, I don't, like, for me, like, in that situation, if I don't need to kill the zombie, I'm probably not going to. Like, I'm gonna use that as a last resort. Like, I'm gonna primarily focus on getting away from them
Right.
rather than trying to mow them down.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you can't mow them all down, and in fact, like in a lot of shows, like just like The Walking Dead, you don't want to shoot because then it alerts the other ones,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they kind of follow each other, and then you're drawing them all to a single point. So yeah,
I think there's like
stealth is the way to go.
I think that there's like a certain like like I said, Walking Dead's probably like the closest to a real depiction of what could happen. But like the only thing that I guess like I have an issue with is the timeline. Cuz like how long can a corpse survive without its basic motor functions? Like once your brain is so far gone that it can't tell your legs to move. It can't tell your arms to move. Like at what point does that zombie die and it can't like it's gone. Like it just kind of passes away. And if you look at like normal decomposition timelines like that doesn't seem like it'd be more than a year.
Yeah, my question is if the zombie were to find nourishment
Mm-hmm.
by eating someone or something, does it keep their brain from decomposing? Because like my understanding was that they are like continually decomposing after they die and then are resurrected as the zombie or whatever. But I thought that it was like a kind of a slow process, and obviously without eating, um yeah, they're gonna start to decompose and whatever. But um like when you first see someone turn into a zombie, it's almost like they're just a normal person who died or whatever, and they're just, it's like part of their brain turned off and they are just running on instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, obviously, like if there were millions and millions of zombies and they didn't get to eat because there's less humans than zombies in most of these scenarios, yeah, they would eventually decompose. So if you could like stay safe for what, like 2 years max, then all the zombies would probably be gone
And what
in a realistic
and
scenario.
what few are left, are gonna die soon anyway. Or, like I just feel like the vast majority of zombies that would be out there would probably be gone, by, a 2-year mark.
Right. I mean, like that's like, I think max, you know.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I don't know, but like I agree with you. Like
Yeah.
it's been, many, many years in the show The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And like they're still just everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the only way they uh become injured or decompose in any way is like after they've been injured or killed by a human.
Yeah.
Like they just destroy the brain or whatever, and then they start to decompose. But like, remember at the beginning of the Walking Dead series where they were finding like half zombies like crawling along the ground and stuff, and there was the one in the well
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah. Um,
The waterlogged zombie.
yeah. So I don't know. It's a cool portrayal though. Um, what do you think like the best zombie movie is? Like not like by how accurate it is or anything like that, but just if you're thinking like a horror movie that's actually scary, what do you think the best zombie one is?
It's really hard to name one because the majority of them are so low budget that they just end up failing. But like, I think one movie that really doesn't get a lot of recognition that was actually pretty good was War Z with Brad Pitt in
World
it.
War Z.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one was pretty good.
that one was good.
I liked that one. I liked the idea and the way they executed it. It was, yeah. I think that one was pretty good movie.
Are you a fan of like? Do you have a problem with the movies that have this like zombies that can run?
Um, I I don't have a problem with the movies themselves, but the idea that a zombie would be able to have superhuman speed like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh,
Like
like real life.
it seems like right after they die and turn into zombies, like they would probably be able to run at normal human speed.
Yeah.
Um, but like after a while, because of their bodies degrading and lack of energy and stuff, I would imagine that they would be able to only do like the classic zombie walk after a while, and that's kind of what I like in a zombie movie.
Yeah.
But it does make it, I guess, like less threatening and less exciting. But it's still like I guess like for me, the thrill of a zombie movie is like when the threat comes from like just being completely overwhelmed
Mm-hmm.
by numbers and surrounded and
Yeah.
cornered. The suspense.
Yeah.
I don't really like zombie movies too much that have them where they are like, well, I guess like I Am Legend, but that's a special exception because I do like that movie. And World War Z is great too. But yeah, to me, like those aren't really like zombies; they're something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think that do you think a virus in real life will ever uh, have that kind of effect on people if it
I
jumps
I
from another species?
I definitely think that there's a potential for that to happen. I don't know necessarily like that it would um be a world situation, like a worldwide situation, but then we did just get out of COVID.
Right. Yeah.
And like if you had a virus like COVID that had properties like mad cow disease, like you mix those two together and like who knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that there is a real possibility that that could happen. We've seen two different things that can generate that. Um, so fast spreading and shuts down your logical brain processes. So there's things out there that make that happen.
Yeah. Imagine something like rabies being airborne,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever like that. That could do it, and that would be crazy. And at the beginning of COVID, like but like before COVID, everyone's like, oh, like how do you think the world's gonna end? Blah blah blah. Everyone has their ideal scenario of how they'd like it to play out, and so many people say zombie apocalypse. And then when like COVID hit, I was like, oh, here we go. And like that they say that, which I don't know the truth, but if I had to guess and put my money on a theory of the origin of COVID, I would say they were doing gain of function research on viruses in the Wuhan lab, and there were bats present in that lab that they were experimenting on, and so I don't know that the origin was from a bat. I think it's more likely that it was just like um, gain of function on like just a different SARS, uh, virus. But um, point is, this the whole thing could have started because of a lab leak where they were experimenting on a bat that had a virus, and it's
I mean, if that bat had something close to mad cow disease in in combination with COVID, like who knows what would happen?
yeah, like just imagine like if
Like we keep messing with stuff.
yep.
Stuff's gonna happen. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Well, I've read that like under the Obama administration, they came in and like whatever agencies responsible for green lighting that kind of stuff, and they were like, "Wait, we're doing what? We're doing gain of function research? Like we're
I don't
taking."
I don't know what that is, by the way,
Okay,
and I'm sure there's lots of people that don't. So.
okay, so yeah, so gain of function research is when you take like a virus, and you modify its genetics to make it more effective, more deadly, more contagious. Gain of function. You're like improving the functions of this virus, and they were doing gain of function research funded by the United States in that Wuhan lab, and there have been so many debates on like like Fauci was questioned by Rand Paul, and he was like Rand Paul was accusing Fauci of overseeing gain of function research, and Fauci like denied it and was like it's not gain of function research, and they like tried to like change the definition of what gain of function research is, and like all this stuff, like, and again, I don't know where I stand on it because there's been so much deception and misinformation and just wrong information because we didn't know what we were dealing with. It was all like a huge mess, and different countries were like everyone was trying to figure out what was going on.
Instead of the people who made it just fessing up and saying, this is what it is.
If that's
This
the
is how we,
case, then yeah.
like, this is what it is. This is how it was created. This is how we can fight it. Instead of doing that, they just like, whatever. I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, so under
Golly.
the Obama administration, like they found out that gain of function research was being performed, and then they like shut it down. And then for some reason, like when Trump came in office, at some point, it started back up. But when they shut it down, there was like this some sort of agreement or something that was written that said they were pretty much going to start it back up regardless at some point whenever they had I guess like a better plan of like what to do with it. But apparently in the Wuhan lab there was like at some point, like right before the outbreak, there were like 2 people who worked there who went home sick from the lab, and like one of the guy's wives got sick and died, and they think that like that was like patient 0. But again, I don't think we'll ever know the truth. There's so much cover up, there's so much deception. But like again, if I had to speculate and put my money on it, I think that there was a virus that escaped that lab that where they were performing gain of function research on it, and it escaped and unfortunately got out of hand, and we never got all of the information that was collected from China,
and we won't.
And yeah, but like I feel like there's a lot of cover up, because if people found out that the world was thrown into chaos because of research that was being funded by American taxpayer dollars,
regardless of who was funding it, like it was being like someone was doing it, like someone was putting the whole world into jeopardy and not caring about it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but like the whole point of like the research, I think, is to like see like what would happen, how we would handle things if like a virus were to mutate to its full potential. And
well, they found out.
Yeah. And that's what happened.
How many people died and how many people suffered, and how many economies came close to collapse. Like,
it's crazy.
Was it worth it?
I mean, honestly, I don't.
Like, I know the people that
I don't know.
I know the people that were a part of it. They're not going to hear this, but like, was it worth it?
Yeah. Well, what's crazy to me is about that whole thing. Like, imagine, just to keep the context, imagine this was some sort of zombie virus, okay? At the beginning of the whole thing, I remember I was living with my grandma, and, you know, everyone was quarantined, and even in Poto, there was curfew. Sydney had a job. She was working at Harps, which is a local grocery store. And she like had to have a note in her car at all times that she was like going to and from work. Because if she was out past a certain time and was pulled over, she could get in trouble unless she was going home from work.
Wow.
It was crazy. But I remember watching the news at that time. This was probably January 2020. And I remember seeing Fauci on TV saying that you don't need to wear a mask. You don't need to change any of your plans. Like, it doesn't, like nothing, it's not going to change anything. Wearing a mask won't help. And then it's like all of a sudden, like the mask is the only way out. And there's so many things that are so silly about it. And instead of saying like, you know, we're not sure what's going on, we're trying to figure it out, like just take the best precautions that you can, and try to be safe however you see fit. instead of saying like we're working on it, we're trying to figure it out, we'll get back to you, just like make sure you're being clean, wash your hands, be safe, don't be in other people's faces, all of that. They were like, "Oh no, don't worry about it, guys. Like you don't need to change anything." And anyway,
That's how our government pretty much runs
yeah,
nowadays.
because like
It's
they
just
want to
like
be,
everything's fine. Don't worry, we got
yeah,
it.
exactly.
We
It's
got
like
this
because
handled.
they want to be
Trust
the
us to not
solution.
kill you.
Exactly. It's like, well, why would I trust you to not kill me? Like my life doesn't matter
But like,
to them.
they kind of need us.
Yeah.
Like if they didn't have people to govern, then where's their power at?
Well, I think they knew that not everyone was going to die, so the people who do, it's just fodder.
I never got COVID.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, I did.
I know I think
And yeah.
didn't you get it twice?
No.
Once.
I had it once. Yeah. And
Yeah, see,
I
I never
also
got it.
I got the vaccine as well. I did
My
not get boosters for other reasons.
my stepson got COVID twice.
Mm.
You got COVID. People like almost everyone at work got COVID.
Oh yeah, because they know. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna out who I work for or anything, but
yeah.
like they let a guy come to work knowing he had COVID.
Yeah. But like
That's frustrating.
But what I'm saying is I've been around several people with COVID and I never got it.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised. Almost everyone that we work with had it. For me, it wasn't that bad. I'm in generally good health.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like someone ran me over with a bus. Like my body was really sore. I had a headache for a few days. I didn't have any like congestion or anything. I literally just felt like I hadn't slept in a week and like someone punched me all over my body. Like that's about as bad as it got. And then I got the vaccine and I kind of had a bad reaction, but it wasn't like crazy. I literally just like almost passed out from it. Like that's pretty much what happened. And like they gave me my shot and Sydney got hers at the exact same time. And about 3 minutes after I got my shot, I was like, "Hey, does it feel hot to you?" And Sydney's like, "No," and I was like, "I feel really hot." And then like I just like kind of ignored it. I was like, "I'm sure it's fine." And then like 5 minutes into it, like my vision started like closing in, and I was like, "Okay." I told her, I was like, "Okay, something's wrong." She was like, "Are you kidding? Are you kidding?" And I was like, "No, no, I'm not. I'm not lying like at all. Like I'm starting to like not be able to see." And then like the lady came over that gave me my shot. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like I don't know what's going on." And then like my hearing started going and I couldn't hardly hear anything. Like it felt like someone put pillows over my ears. And I was like, "Yeah, I can't hear anything anymore. Like this is bad." And I realized now I think I was going to pass out. I think that's what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, "Well, if I gave you a candy bar, would you eat it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'll give you a Coke too." I was like, "Okay." So she gave me like a Snickers and a Coke and like I drank it. And within like a minute of drinking it, I was good to go.
So you had like a drop in blood
I
sugar?
think it was
or
blood
something?
sugar. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know why. And she was like, "Were you nervous about like getting the shot and stuff?" And I was like, I mean a little bit, but like not bad. Like I had mulled over what I thought was best for me and best for my family. And I was like, I absolutely, believe that like uh, the risk is worth, the reward of, what seems to be a temporary defense against the virus. And so I had like accepted like if anything's wrong, then like it's if I'm one of the statistics, then like I have accepted that. But I don't really like needles. But the reason that I don't think that it was because I was nervous about the shot is because, when I had gout, they had to draw my blood. And I've gotten a lot of shots before, and I had absolutely no issue with having my blood drawn and getting shots and stuff, except for like the COVID shot. And so I don't know if when I got it, I had a weird reaction where it dropped my blood sugar or what. But, and the only thing that I noticed after the shot was I felt like, I don't really know because I never had it checked out, but it felt like my heart had like irregular beat sometimes, just like throughout the day for maybe a minute at a time. It probably lasted about 6 months before I stopped noticing it. And maybe it was heart palpitations. But the thing is, like, I had COVID, and that can happen from the virus itself as well. And so, like, I don't know. I don't have any proof that it was because of the vaccine. It's just, that was just my experience with it. But my original point was like, imagine if the United States government handled a zombie virus the way that they did COVID. Oh, like in the beginning, like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, you can go outside. Like, it's fine. It's all under control. Don't, nothing to worry about. We would all get it.
Yeah.
It would be really bad.
Except for me.
Yeah, apparently. Because you're like Will Smith in I Am Legend. You're the guy who doesn't get it, and your blood is special.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But I feel like I've mentally prepared myself enough to handle that situation if it ever came about.
We've seen a lot of movies and played a lot of video games.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, even though all those scenarios aren't really
there's a certain
that realistic.
There's a part of your humanity that you have to kind of get rid of to be able to survive in that kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is a purely survival situation. If you don't do what you have to do to make it, then you won't.
Yeah.
I think if I learned anything from The Walking Dead, it was that. There were some pretty messed up things in that show. Like whenever, spoiler alert, I'm giving you 5 seconds to turn this off if you haven't seen The Walking Dead somehow.
Everyone's seen it.
Like when Carl's mom dies and Carl has to shoot her in the face. That was pretty whack. Like they cut a baby out of her and then he shoots her in the face. Or like when
I'm not laughing because that happened. I'm laughing because you're laughing while you're talking about someone getting shot in the face.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that's something that, like, unfortunately, I'm kind of desensitized to.
Yeah.
Just from video games and stuff. I've just seen it too much. I know it's not real, so it's not like my real mom got shot in the face and I'm laughing. I would never. But yeah, there was that, and then like showing, like at the beginning, especially like people's loved ones dying and whatever. Like they had to be the ones to like put them out of their misery, like before they turned. And yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I remember one episode too where like Carl like goes for supplies or something, and he goes into a house and finds one of those giant cans of chocolate pudding. And it's like such a treat for him. And I'm like, dang. That would be the worst part about the zombie apocalypse. It's like,
they make cans of chocolate pudding?
yeah, it was It was probably like 60 ounces of chocolate pudding.
Oh,
Like in the bulk section at Walmart, those cans of nacho cheese. It was like that, but it was pudding.
oh man, I've never seen that. I'm gonna have to. I love pudding.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah. I guess moral of the story is like zombie apocalypse could happen. Not likely, but it could happen.
I mean, we have the right tools to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean with
Don't do
CRISPR,
that.
so I know we've mentioned CRISPR before, but do you know what that is?
It's the. I think I'm not gonna try.
Okay.
I think I know what it is, but I don't want to say it. So you
Okay.
just tell me.
It's a gene editing tool.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and like so what they do is they actually use a virus to target specific genes, and the virus acts like a pair of scissors, and it can just like snip out the genes that they want, and then they can use either the same virus or a separate virus to replace the genes that they snipped out with genes that they want. And so like that's a pretty significant uh, technology that's going to impact our future as far as like disease prevention. Um, you'll be able to probably choose, your baby's eye color and stuff like, and that'll be like the easy things. Like you could probably go as far as to like increase their intelligence, their uh, durability by increasing like their bone density and like their muscle structure and like all these things, and you could definitely use it to make a virus that would probably override parts of the human brain and make people cannibals. Like in the future, for sure, they'll be able to do that.
Like, I mean, if they can, yeah. If they can replace certain genes to make you smarter and make you stronger and faster, then why not do the opposite?
Yeah.
They if they can enhance you, then they can definitely dumb you down. So I would I think it would be safe to say we have the technology to make that happen now,
Yeah.
and that's scary.
I think it's like we have the technology to make it happen now, but I don't know because I'm just me, but I don't know if we're far enough along in the application of that technology to be able to modify uh, genetics and viruses to that extent. I mean, obviously, yes, we could, but I don't know if they have the knowledge to do that yet. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've only seen like examples of like basic modification, but with gain of function research, that kind of shows that it only takes a little editing to make something that is truly devastating, you know. So I don't know. I don't know where it goes from where we are, but um, I say bring on the zombie apocalypse. Just because, like, man, life is like my life, pretty boring. If there was, I don't want my family to die, but like, say that Sydney had passed on, which God forbid. Love my wife, but say that happened, and say that Benjamin was old enough where he was grown and he moved away, and I knew that he was doing good or whatever. Um, I would say bring it on.
So
If it was just me at risk.
bring on the zombie apocalypse, but wait 20 years.
Well, maybe. Here's the thing. I just don't want, I wouldn't want my family to be involved in any sort of zombie apocalypse.
Like
That's,
you just want to like travel to an island and have your own isolated zombie occurrence.
well, no, because that means my wife's not around anymore, and that would make me really sad. But
Well, she'd still be around. You're the one. You're the only
yeah,
one
but then
involved
but
in the zombies.
but then I can't. Oh wait, you're saying like not a worldwide outbreak,
Yeah, like
just
in
like
just
a
an island outbreak, and you're the only one there with all the zombies.
that. Uh, yeah, I mean that as far as like a realistic scenario, like that would be ideal. But I wouldn't. What I'm saying is, I can't think of a scenario where like my family's not around without them.
Mhm.
But like I would not like the island idea either, because then I still would not be able to help provide for them and do the normal things that I do because I love them.
Mhm.
But I guess here's a scenario. I live a completely second life in virtual reality that's indistinguishable from real reality, and I'm living in a zombie apocalypse. That that would work for me. And then when I die, the game's over and I just go back to normal life. Sounds
They
good.
have Resident Evil in VR.
Yeah, I want like a completely immersive experience.
It's pretty immersive. It's pretty scary too. I've played it. It's
That's got to be so scary.
it is like you think it's like you like when you play games like that and you're like playing with the controller with the TV screen and you're like, oh, that got me. But like imagine like having all those sounds surround you and having like you're like literally looking over and something's there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. 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 No.
And like that like it's a whole different experience. It really puts you in it.
I would love to play Left 4 Dead in VR. I don't know if they've done that yet, but if they haven't, they definitely
Uh,
should.
do they even have like an updated game version of that? 'Cause last time I heard of Left 4 Dead was like feels like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's. I think it was on the last game was on Xbox 360, and it was Left 4 Dead 2. They need to make a Left 4 Dead 3 that is way better, but those games were great as far as like a zombie experience goes. And in VR, it would be terrifying. Like you're talking about the sounds and stuff. I can remember walking through those levels and hearing a witch crying. And for anyone who hasn't played the game, the witch is a type of zombie that would be hidden in a room in the dark or in the corner of some place where you couldn't see it very well, and you would be walking through killing regular zombies, and then all of a sudden you would hear um, what was like a woman crying, and eventually, more than likely, you would come across the witch, and she would be like um, huddled down in a corner. And if you got too close or made a sound when sneaking by her, she would like get up and turn around and then run at you super fast and like scream. And I can't imagine that in VR. Like you're walking along and then you hear the woman crying and you're like looking around. Oh, it's giving me chills just thinking about it. I don't like that. But yeah. Um, got anything else to add?
Stay safe and don't let zombies eat your brains.
Yeah. That would be bad, man.
Yeah, I like this whole thing that we're doing that's like creeping up on Halloween and
Oh,
the
for
month of
sure.
October because we got some cool stuff and we're kind of like setting the creepy scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of getting your I do want to say, like, as far as like Hollywood monsters, zombies is the closest thing that could actually happen.
Yeah, for sure.
uh so anyway, I think we're running up on that time.
Yeah, I
So
think so too. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening to episode 34. And we are getting into spooky mode. And so keep your eyes peeled for all the cool stuff that we are going to be doing in October. The next episode of the podcast will be in October. And so we'll have some really cool stuff to talk about. We will have began our master plan by then. And we're going to do a pedal giveaway. And the pedals are going to be really cool. We're expecting the enclosures to come in this week. And after that, everything is ready to go. So be on the lookout. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.
bye.
Bye.